You slept 8 hours last night. You didn't run a marathon. You didn't move heavy boxes. You didn't do anything physically exhausting. And yet, right now, you feel completely drained, like something invisible is slowly pulling the energy out of you. You grab another coffee. You scroll your phone. You tell yourself, I just need a break. But the break never really works, does it? Here's what nobody tells you. The most dangerous tiredness has nothing to do with your body. It lives inside your mind, quietly running in the background, consuming everything you have, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Today, we're going to go deep. We're going to uncover the hidden psychological reasons why you feel exhausted even when you've done nothing at all, and more importantly, how to actually fix it. Because average people blame their tiredness on vitamins, sleep schedules, or busy days. But you're not here to stay average. So let's begin. Imagine you open your laptop and leave 200 browser tabs open. You're not actively using them. You're not reading them. They're just open. What happens to your laptop? It slows down. It overheats. The battery drains in half the time. Your mind works exactly the same way. Every time you replay a conversation from 3 days ago, wondering if you said something wrong, that's a tab open. Every time you mentally rehearse an argument that hasn't even happened yet, that's a tab open. Every time you ask yourself, what if I had made a different choice? That's a tab open. People with highly active minds, creative people, deep thinkers, sensitive people, are especially vulnerable to this because their brains are powerful. And a powerful engine left running with no direction doesn't just idle, it consumes. The problem isn't that you think too much. Thinking is your greatest strength. The problem is that you can't stop. There's a difference between analysis and obsession, between reflection and rumination. Analysis moves you forward. You think, you conclude, you act. Rumination keeps you spinning in the same circle, thinking the same thoughts, reaching no conclusion, going nowhere, but burning enormous amounts of mental energy in the process. Dr. Susan Nolan Hoeksema, a psychologist at Yale University, spent decades studying this pattern. Her research showed that people who ruminate regularly experience significantly higher levels of mental fatigue, not because their lives are harder, but because their minds never rest. Here's the key insight. Your brain cannot tell the difference between a real problem and an imagined one. When you worry about something that hasn't happened, your nervous system responds as if it's real. Your stress hormones rise. Your body tenses. Your mental energy gets consumed, fighting a battle that exists only in your imagination. You end the day exhausted, not from what happened, but from everything you imagine happening. This is the first hidden cause of your fatigue. And it's more common than you think. Let me ask you something. Right now, as you watch this video, how many unfinished things are sitting in the back of your mind? A message you need to reply to. A call you keep postponing. A project you started but never completed. Something you said you'd do last week, last month, and still haven't done. You probably don't think about these things consciously, but your mind does. In psychology, this is called the Zygarnik effect. Bluma Zygarnik was a Soviet psychologist who noticed something fascinating while sitting in a cafe. Waiters could perfectly remember long, complex orders, but only until they delivered the food. The moment the order was complete, they forgot it entirely. She later tested this in controlled studies and discovered that the human brain holds on to unfinished tasks with far more intensity than completed ones. It's like an open loop, and your mind desperately wants to close it. Every unfinished task is an open loop running in the background of your consciousness. Not loudly, not obviously, but constantly. That email you haven't answered? Open loop. That difficult conversation you've been avoiding? Open loop. That small promise you made to yourself. I'll start Monday. And never kept? Open loop. And here's where it gets heavy. Each loop takes up mental bandwidth. Each loop requires a small but constant amount of attention to maintain. And when you have dozens of these open loops, small, medium, and large, your mind becomes like a city where every street light is flickering. Nothing is broken, but nothing is fully working either. And the exhaustion you feel isn't from what you're doing. It's from everything you're carrying. The solution isn't to work harder. It's to close loops, even small ones. Reply to the message, make the call, or consciously decide, I'm not doing this. I'm letting it go. A closed loop, whatever the outcome, gives your mind permission to rest. Now we reach the deepest layer. Because there's a third source of mental fatigue, one that most people never even identify. It's not what you're doing. It's not what you're not doing. It's what you're saying to yourself all day long without even realizing it. Pay attention to your inner voice for just 1 hour tomorrow. Notice how often it says things like, I'm not doing enough. I should be further ahead by now. Other people are managing better than me. I always mess things up. This voice, your inner critic, is so familiar that you've stopped hearing it as criticism. It feels like truth. It feels like reality. But it's not. It's a habit. A deeply ingrained mental habit of self-judgment that runs automatically beneath your awareness, consuming energy every single second of the day. Think about what it feels like to spend time with someone who constantly criticizes you, who points out every flaw, who reminds you of every failure, who makes you feel like nothing you do is ever quite good enough. You would leave that person feeling absolutely drained. Now imagine that person lives inside your own head, and you can never leave. That is what an overactive inner critic does to your mental energy. And the cruel irony? High achievers, ambitious people, people with standards, people who actually care, tend to have the harshest inner critics of all, because they want to grow, they want to improve. And somewhere along the way, that desire for growth turned into a constant, quiet punishment of everything they are right now. This is not motivation. This is not discipline. This is exhaustion disguised as ambition. So what do? Let's be practical, because understanding the problem is only half the work. First, learn to close your mental tabs. You cannot stop thinking entirely, but you can give your thoughts a destination. When you notice yourself ruminating, spinning on the same thought again and again, ask yourself one question. Is there an action I can take right now? If yes, take it, even a small one. If no, write the thought down and consciously release it. Tell your brain, I've noted this. You don't need to keep reminding me. This simple habit can reduce mental noise dramatically within days. Second, close your open loops intentionally. Make a list, not to overwhelm yourself, but to make the invisible visible. Every task, every unspoken word, every unkept promise you've made to yourself. Then go through it deliberately. Complete what you can, release what you can't, and stop carrying what was never yours to carry. Third, change your relationship with your inner voice. This is the deepest work, and it doesn't happen overnight, but it starts with one shift. Begin to treat yourself with the same basic respect you would give a stranger. You would not speak to a friend the way your inner critic speaks to you. You would not call a colleague not good enough for making a small mistake. Start noticing when the inner critic speaks, not to silence it, but to question it. Is this actually true, or is this just a habit? Most of the time, the answer is, it's a habit, and habits can be changed. Mental fatigue is not a sign that you're weak. It's a signal, a message from your mind saying, I need you to lead me, not just use me. The people who break out of constant exhaustion aren't the ones who sleep more or work less. They're the ones who learn to master what's happening inside their own heads. If something in this video resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in any of these patterns, write it in the comments. Because awareness is always the first step. And if you want to go deeper, your mind is worth understanding. See you in the next one.